Well, good morning, guys. It is the middle of winter, and in the middle of winter here in Minnesota, the only place that I don't want to be is in the middle of Minnesota in winter. And I start to get kind of reminiscent about past trips that I've taken. And 2 years ago, well, just coming up on 2 years ago, in February of 2016, I went to Thailand for the first time, which is consequently the only time, but we're planning another trip back there. But while I was there, I was actually filming for the Reptile channel, and so a lot of the footage that I shot there only made it onto YouTube on the Reptile channel about the reptiles of Thailand. But there was so much else that we saw when we were there, and I just really never did anything with any of that footage. And so now that I have the vlog channel, which I obviously started about a year after I was actually in Thailand, there is so much footage of, the elephants and the birds that we saw there, and primarily of the monkey species that we saw in Thailand. We actually saw 4 monkey species while we were there. And again, for 2 years, I have just been sitting on this footage, and I really didn't know what to do with it. And back then, this was my primary camera, this $300 video camera. And it records 1080 and the lens is okay. I kind of put this sock, I taped a sock over the microphone to knock out the wind sound. But this is what I shot with, and I shot with this camera for years before I upgraded to, better equipment, as you do. But anyway, so for this video, I really wanted to show you guys really how cool the monkey species of Thailand are. So we arrived in Bangkok, as you do when you arrive in Thailand, and we took a couple of days before we headed out to the national parks and went to the markets. I mean, the markets of Bangkok are some of the most exotic places I've ever been to. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen my vlogs from Peru. Well, the markets of Bangkok rival anything that I've seen anywhere in the world. And the Buddhist temples that we saw when we were in Bangkok. But after a couple of days of immersing ourselves in the cultural aspects of Bangkok, we drove to Khao Yai National Park to go looking for the snakes and lizards and the other animals that Thailand has to offer, which is what we were doing in Thailand. So we saw the first monkeys of the trip at Khao Yai National Park, and it was these guys. These are pig-tailed macaques. They're called pigtails because some of them have tails that curl up like pigtails, I suppose. But anyway, as soon as we entered the park, we saw a whole troop of these guys just off to the side of the parking lot, and I stood there for a while as the rest of the group went and looked for lizards and snakes and things like that, which is why we were there. But I stood there and filmed these guys, and oh yeah, that happened. Yeah, moving on. So what I was particularly interested was just kind of sitting and watching them as they foraged, and I'd never seen monkeys like this in the wild. The only monkeys that I had ever seen before were in Costa Rica, which are New World monkeys, but these were the first Old World monkeys that I had ever seen, and I was just mesmerized by these guys. So aside from us humans, macaques are the most widespread primate genus. These pigtailed macaques, they are found in Bangladesh and Cambodia and China and India and Thailand and Vietnam, all over Southeast Asia. And there's a species of macaque that ranges in North Africa and is even found in Southern Europe. So the thing that interested me the most about these guys was the way that they play, just like we do. I assume that this is sibling rivalry, and it's all play fighting. So a little further into the park, when we got to a parking lot, I had a granola bar in my hand, and I stupidly got out of the car eating the granola bar, and instantly, out of the forest, we were attacked by a troop of these macaques. Anyway, I threw the granola bar in the car and then grabbed my camera and filmed these guys after we made friends. Hi, buddy. But even in the campsites, you have to watch yourself, because we were camping and we'd get up and there'd be macaques all over the campsite rummaging through anything that they could find, and if there was any food left out, they would immediately grab it and run up in the trees. And so I grabbed my camera and I watched this guy grab something out of somebody's cooler and run up in the tree and start eating it. As we drove 5 hours to the south, we got to Keang Krachan National Park, and this place, God, this was probably one of the most amazing national parks I've ever been to. One morning as we got up, as we were in our tents, we were woken up to this alarm clock screaming from the trees, and it was, to date, one of the most hauntingly beautiful sounds I've ever heard in the wild. These are Lar gibbons, also known as white-handed gibbons, and they're endangered, and therefore they're probably one of the better-known gibbons that you often see in zoos around the world. They're either white or black, and there's no sexual dimorphism in them, so either males or females can be either color variant. To actually be out there in the wild in Thailand and see these animals in the wild, it really is something that I consider to be one of the greatest moments in my life, because so many people are only exposed to these animals in zoos. And there we were in the wild in southern Thailand, listening to the call of the gibbon, and this was the first time that I had ever heard their call. Every single morning we woke up to this scene. I was joking that they actually sound a little like R2-D2 if he was a primate. So when we went further into the park, we happened to look up and we saw this troop of dusky langurs. They're also sometimes called leaf monkeys, but langur is the name that comes from the Hindu word meaning long tail. And these guys are the cutest primates in the world. I mean, look at those little faces. But this troop really wasn't alarmed that we were there filming them. They just kind of went about their business and they kept looking at us, and then they would go back to, you know, having their lunch. And these monkeys have a close resemblance to us humans. They have similar hands and feet with developed fingers and opposable thumbs, and both the males and females, they look similar. There's really no sexual dimorphism amongst the adults, but the newborns of these monkeys are really colorful. Their color of their fur is orange or bright yellow, and it only takes about 6 months for it to change to the gray appearance of the adults here. But man, these guys were so awesome to see in the wild. They really are the cutest monkeys in the world. So we were in Thailand during the dry season, and one of the ways that you see a lot of animals in the dry season is by setting up camp in the watering holes. And around this particular one, we saw one of the other species of macaques that's found in Thailand. This is a stump-tailed macaque. It's also known as a bear macaque. And because of the camera that I was using, I didn't realize until I actually got back and saw the footage that this one has a baby clinging to her. And I followed her all the way down to the water where she went and took a drink. And so this was probably the most awesome thing that I've ever filmed in the wild that I didn't at the time know that I was filming. Guys, Keang Krachan is probably one of the most amazing places I have ever been in the world, and I simply can't wait to get back there. And as a matter of fact, like I said earlier, we're planning another trip back to Thailand, but that probably won't be until late 2018, early 2019. I've got a lot of other places to go before we head back to Thailand, but I cannot wait to get back to especially Keang Krachan National Park and spend much more than the 3 days that we actually did spend there. So I also want to go a little further down and see about blood pythons and Burmese pythons, but we got a lot of planning to do before the next trip. So anyway, guys, I have got a lot of amazing travel plans coming up this year. So like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, let me know how much you love the monkey episode, and until the next adventure, love the planet, keep your life in balance, and rattle on.